hi there, and welcome to another episode of our Caregiver series. Here today with us, we have Shamayne, and I'll pass it over to her to introduce herself to start.
Hi, everyone. Firstly, thank you for having me on your platform. I'm really excited. I came across your platform in the first place. My name is Shamayne. I'm a caregiver for my 85-year-old father who's suffering from vascular dementia. I wasn't always his sole caregiver. I used to have a lovely support system. I live abroad with my husband. But since COVID last year, I've been back. We lost all help, all support at home. So I've just come back to take care of him. So I'm currently his sole caregiver. So that's been it's been a 1.5 year journey that's been quite different from what I've been doing for the past 7 years living abroad. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for that answer and for those details. So I'll get right into the questions.
Yes.
So the first one I think you answered a bit, but I'll still ask the full question.
Yeah.
So how long have you been a caregiver? And if you feel comfortable, can you walk us through the initial diagnosis experience and what that was like for you and for your family?
Sure. Actually, my dad came to live with me about 10 years ago. Yes. He was just displaying some really weird symptoms. We lived on our own. So he started having fainting spells and things like that. And so I decided that perhaps he should just come and stay with me for a while. And so, we made the transition. He sold his car, and he came over to the city where I'm at. And he stayed with me. And I just noticed some really unusual behavior. It was a really small apartment, but he couldn't figure out where the front door was. He didn't know how to unlock the doors. It was pretty simple. It was a doorknob, but he'd stick a key in there. There's no keyhole. And he just was not familiar. It was just, he just couldn't get familiar with the place. He didn't know where his room was, just a couple of small things. And that used to really annoy me because, I was working and, I had to see to him and rush off to work. I didn't even know what was happening. And then I think the symptoms got a little bit worse over some time. And then I decided to take him to a geriatric doctor. And then they did the mini mental test and they diagnosed him as having mild, very early stages of dementia. And what do we do, right? So, they tried natural. I think but 10 years ago, I think virgin coconut oil was like the in thing. It was supposed to like help with memory and stuff. We just went along with what the doctor said. So, we just amped up his social activities. We joined the church group. We joined the Tai Chi group. So I just did a couple of those things. And then when I got married, so a little bit of background here. My parents are divorced. So my dad had come to live with me and my mom's still living away. And I'm an only child. So when I was going to get married and move abroad, my mom had agreed to come and live with us just to keep an eye on things. Like she wasn't, going to do anything, but just to keep an eye on things. So I had a helper. So I got a helper to just like sort of make sure dad forgets his medication. I sort of trained them to do what they needed to do and take him for his classes, etc. So that continued for a number of years when I was away. So that was his diagnosis, his initial diagnosis. And then, of course, it gets worse over the years, right? Slowly, the sound dining symptoms were, a bit more, etc. So then I had come back just before COVID, just before the lockdown. Actually, it was just the timing was perfect. By then, we had, lost our helper. I had two helpers. I had someone coming in for a couple of hours a day, and I had a live-in. So I lost all of them, and so I just took over his care routine. And of course, everything changed, right? He couldn't go for church meetings. He couldn't go for Tai Chi classes. We used to do some other stuff. All of that just came to a screeching halt. So I looked at other ways on how I could support him. And I've just been doing that since. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for
Sorry,
sharing
a bit
that.
long-winded there, but yeah, I hope I'm answering your
No,
questions.
no, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sure everyone appreciates the details. I mean, COVID made it so difficult, especially in
Yeah,
terms of caregiving. So, yeah, it's at least great to hear that you've been managing and looking for other support out there that's
yeah,
available, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I guess that leads into my second question for you, which is, can you describe a regular day of your caregiving routine and how you manage all of your tasks?
Oh gosh, with great difficulty. So at the moment, I do have some help. This is how I'm actually able to sit and have this chat. So I've got someone coming in a couple of hours a day. But initially, when COVID first landed upon us, it was just me alone. So I used to. I mean, Dad wakes up really early in the morning, like about 5:30 or 6. So and there is a routine that I stuck to. I stuck to it as much as I could. I didn't want things to change too much for him because that's not healthy either. So he'd have his coffee and he'd work on his iPad. He's got Sudoku and word search on the iPad. So he'd work on that for about 45 minutes, and then it's a little bit of exercise, just some stretching, some just light exercises before he goes in for a shower. And then, so while he's having a shower, I prepare breakfast and lay all his medication on the table. It's all organized and labeled, so it's easy for him. So then after his shower, he gets dressed, and we come out for breakfast. And so I enable Dad to do as much. I mean, I enable him to do as many things as possible by himself. So that's why the medication is labeled. It's evening, morning, one tablet, two, whatever it is. And I just stand there just to make sure he's doing it right. Because sometimes, there's some confusion. Then after breakfast, we go for a walk, go for a short walk. He sits under the sun for a couple of minutes, about 10 minutes a day, just to get in as much vitamin D as possible. And then he reads the paper. I sits in the garden and he reads the paper. And while he's doing that, I start with lunch. I start preparing lunch for us, and whatever cleaning that needs to be done, and then it's lunch. uh, so we have lunch and medication again, and then we relax a little bit in the afternoon, but then we start again with exercise at about 4. And I have a different exercise routine for him every day. So it's either Tai Chi, it's Love to Move. We've got the strength exercises. So, and then on Mondays it's dance, it's dancing and singing. Then after he does that, he has his evening medication, has a shower. We come out after a shower, we play cards or we play checkers. We just to get him occupied. And then it's dinner, and after dinner we watch mass on TV because we can't go. And I'm really trying to find ways to keep him occupied actually. So we usually just go for mass on the weekends, but since it's online now and the daily masses online, we put that on, so he sits down and watches that for about 45 minutes, half an hour to 45 minutes, and then we continue playing cards or Connect Four or yeah, stuff like that. Some more card games until it's time for him to go to bed. So that's roughly what happens in a day. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of exercise is incorporated into his daily routine, which is great. Can you speak a little bit about whether you think that's had or has a positive effect, and whether you
Yeah.
think that exercise, if possible, should be incorporated more into the caregiving routine?
Oh yeah, I definitely think so. As a matter of fact, since coming back, I've really amped up his exercise routines. He just used to go for a walk in the mornings and a walk in the evenings, and really short walks. But since all of that came to a stop during COVID, we could only go for very short walks, just very short walks. So exercise is so important. I can't tell you how important it is. And I'm very lucky because Dad used to be quite active. He used to walk around. He used to do his evening walks when he was really able to do it on his own. In fact, 10 years ago, when he came to live with me, he used to go out by himself. He just used to go around himself, and then of course things got, his footing wasn't so stable. So I needed someone to just be with him at all times, just to make sure, he doesn't fall, and, just to be there. So I've just amped up his exercise routine a lot. So I've got all these. I've got Tai Chi twice a week. I've got strength training twice a week. Uh, and I've got Love to Move. I'm a Love to Move facilitator. Love to Move is a program crafted by the British Gymnastics Foundation in the UK. And I stumbled upon the program when I was looking for stuff that I could do with Dad. And I found it so useful. I mean, it was really good. You know, his finger dexterity improved. The number of other things that he's, able to do by himself so much better with the Love to Move routine. So I decided to become a certified deliverer because I thought maybe when the time is right, I could also help other families. It's just a series of activities. It's just to enhance your cognition, just to get you moving a little bit more and to think. It's really about thinking how you're going to organize stuff. So and he does that twice a week, and then once a week we do dance and song. So and dance and song is also movement, and I incorporate music into our routine as well. So there's all these things that it is a rather full, really jam-packed routine that I have for Dad. But thankfully he enjoys most of them. And of course there are days when he just doesn't want to do anything. Of course there are days when he just doesn't want to do anything, but he's very compliant. I'd say, look, you can't sit around all day, you gotta move, it's for your health. And he does comply. So I mean, I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't stop with the exercise. I think it's really important. I mean, there are days when I don't want to do it myself, right? I don't want to do it. I just want to break, But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you're doing it for him. You're just trying to improve his quality of life, his footing, just so he's a bit more stable. He's balancing. There's a lot of balancing exercises as well. It's really just to enhance his quality of life. And I wouldn't do away with it at all, actually.
Definitely. Yeah, it sounds so important. And combined with music, you always hear music and dementia. It's so helpful, right? With the exercise,
Yeah.
I think you've built a really great routine there. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. That's hard work, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, packed schedule.
Yeah, very packed indeed.
So I guess my next question is more directed at you as a caregiver. So what does your self-care routine look like, and what kinds of things would you recommend to other caregivers about self-care and the importance of making sure you take care of yourself first as well?
Yeah. So I've actually, it's been really difficult. I'm sure every caregiver will tell you it's difficult. It's been hard for me because I left a life, I left a job, I left, my husband's still abroad. I've left my friends, left everything, and I've been back for a year and a half. Aside from the fact that you feel like, oh, I'm not doing anything in my life at the moment except being a caregiver. uh, Aside from that, it's just the emotional uh, weight of being a caregiver. um, and I used to work myself sick. I mean, I was really burning the candle both ends. I used to sleep with Dad in his room because he would wake up in the middle of the night just wanting to go to work, or just at 3 in the morning and just having a shave and a shower. So I'd have to be there to just say to him that it's 3 in the morning, I'll wake you up at 6. Let's go to bed now, and I'll wake you up and we'll go to work then. You get ready for work then. And just to just not really to calm him down, because thankfully Dad's really calm. He's not aggressive, and he's calm. But just so I still don't get a good night's rest because I don't sleep in his room anymore. But I got a camera, and so the camera's on the whole night. So if I hear and it alerts me to any sound that's in the room. So I do wake up a couple of times a night. uh, he gets up to mischief. He gets up to stuff. There was once he actually almost walked out the door at 2 in the morning, but I have an alarm on, so it was very lucky because I overslept. I didn't hear him. He was just trying to get the gate open, and the alarm went off, and he was like fully dressed, and I said, Daddy, where do you want to go? And he says, oh, I need to get my shoes. I'm going to go to work. Just stuff like that. So you really need to be on your toes the whole time. And in addition to that, during the day, you just have to find ways to keep him occupied, because then sundowning systems, you really got to put a system in where you know what to do to distract him. When he asks you for the 50th time, can we go home? You got to find something. And that's why the schedule is so packed. There these little things that you need to do. So he doesn't have time to think about things that but actually focusing his thoughts on something else, like Sudoku or word search, or, reading a book or something like that. So really, it's been hard as a caregiver. I mean, I really, initially when I came, I didn't think about me at all. It was just, I'm solely focused on my parents and, getting everything done for them. So it's, it's the shopping, it's the shopping, it's the cooking, it's the cleaning, it's, and his care routine was everything, Yes, of course, it's had a very negative impact on me. But I've recently started, of course, taking care of myself. I think over the past, I would say, maybe 8 months, I think I've started shifting things around a little bit, because I'm no use to anyone dead. So and of course, there's all this emotional turmoil as well. It's, I do have, and I think people don't talk about it so much, but it's not always a bed of roses. I mean, I post stuff up about, when dad's dancing or he's singing and he's doing something cute. But the emotional agony is real, and I don't think people talk about it so much. I mean, yes, I do experience anger. I do experience resentment. There are days when I'm so resentful of what I have to do now. I've given everything up, and then and when are things going to change? When can I actually get my life back? So all these questions, and of course, there's the anger of, you know, why didn't my parents plan for? I mean, what did they think was going to happen in their old age? I mean, what were their plans? I mean, all these things. I mean, you go through, and then of course, there's this so much love that you feel for them, and and kind of things that you want to do for them. And then as an only child, there's just no support. People like understanding, unless they're going through the same journey with you. Your friends sort of, they just don't get what you're talking about, so it can be very isolating. So all these things, it's real and people don't really talk about it. And that is what aside from the physical exhaustion, I think it's mentally, you really need to strengthen your mental fitness. And you really have to change your mindset and just look at things differently. I'm also a mental fitness coach, and I have got a support network of coaches who, I'm constantly being coached by them. And I do my work on building mental fitness. I coach a couple of people on building mental resilience, and that has really, really helped me. It has really helped me. And all my questions about, when's this going to end, or is this what I'm meant to do for the rest of my life? All those kind of questions. I mean, really, building mental fitness just is really about shifting the way you look at things and looking for the gift in this scenario. What's the gift in this, right? What's the gift in this? I get to spend time with my parents in their old age. And I launched mindconcern.com. It's my website and my social media platforms, where I just create awareness about dementia, because I can't be the only person going through this. I can't be the only person looking for someone who can facilitate a love to move session for my loved one, or come and conduct a Tai Chi class. I mean, I can't be the only person, is what I thought. And so I launched this platform to support other people who are just like me, I talk about offering love to move sessions on my website. I also offer coaching, my coaching package on the website, as well as just bits of information that is relevant to dementia and research around it. And I also journal, so I've got my blog posts up as well. And really, it was this came out. The entire thing came out of this experience, which I always say, it's both harrowing and joyous. It's both harrowing and joyous in equal measure. It's just come out of this experience that I've had taking care of that for the past year and a half. So yeah, so that's
Yeah, Definitely. You said so many powerful things there, especially regarding all of the emotions. I mean, definitely, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people will benefit hearing from you talk from the heart. And we're going to link all of the things that you're just mentioning now below in the caption. So if anyone's watching, feel free, obviously, to check it out.
Yeah,
So thank you for answering those questions. I'm going to pass
sure,
it on to Airman now, who's going to ask you some more.
sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shamayne. Yeah, definitely. And it's amazing to hear that, you are taking this on and you are using your experience to help others. I think that's amazing as a mind fitness coach, which is amazing. I guess you mentioned earlier on in this conversation about the fact that you had some helpers around in the house.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about some other resources that you might have used for support throughout the caregiving process?
Yes. So, I mean, the caregivers have been my main support system because they're really hands-on with that. So it's everything from administrative, administering his eye drops to making sure he gets his medication on time and lunch is prepared, those kinds of things. So they really, you really need somebody hands-on who can actually do it's physical work, right? So they really have been, and that's how I've managed actually being abroad and then engaging these people to help with my parents around the house. Aside from that, I have a great network of friends. I've been really blessed. I may be an only child, but I do have a fantastic support network. So, I mean, if there was an emergency, for example, I could call on them at any time, and I know they'd show up for me. So I'm very blessed. I mean, those are all the gifts that I can list down a string of gifts that I have, despite the circumstances. So my friends, of course, and I also have my mom. So initially, she did used to play a very big role in, for example, taking dad for his doctor appointments, stuff like that. She used to be able to do that, but over the past few years, I've engaged helpers who are a little bit more able, so they could actually handle this on their own with dad. So mom has been a support in the past as well. And aside from people who are supporting me, I uh, I would say things like the iPad has been amazing, because that sort of keeps dad busy. So that's I would say. I mean, if he's doing if he's doing a session, a word search session, for example, or even a Sudoku, I've got that 15 minutes to do whatever I want for myself. You know what I mean? So that's sort of giving me some time to step back. So technology in that sense has been great, and of course I use a number of other stuff at home. Of course since COVID, YouTube has been a lifesaver. I've managed to find things in there that I can support dad with. And I mean, yeah, in terms of support, I would say really the caregivers have been my main support. And that's in caring for dad, of course.
Right.
Support in caring for my father. Yeah, so in friends, it's really been helpful.
Right. That's amazing to hear. And I'm glad to hear that you have those resources available for you. Are there any resources that you wish you had that may not be available or easily
Yes,
accessible?
yeah, so many actually. When I first started taking care of dad, and he was still quite able, but he was home alone all day, and I was going to work, and I just needed someone who would just come to our house, pay, someone whom I could pay for their services to just come and play some cards with him for an hour, play some games, so just to chat, just some human contact. I I couldn't find anyone. We're talking about 9, 10 years ago. I mean, there were friends who tried to help. They said, "Oh, I know this guy. He might be able to do it." And then this things just never panned out. But just that kind of support, like someone who would take my dad for a doctor appointment, for example. I couldn't find anyone then. It was so difficult. I mean, you have a full-time job, really stressful job. I used to work in publishing, and then deadlines and stuff. It's difficult to juggle the hospital appointments with with work, you need to take leave, and it was just such a nightmare. And I always wished that that, oh God, couldn't someone just, offer these services, um, and but it's been better over the recent years. Over recent years, I mean, there are now organizations that offer these services. Like a nurse or a caregiver who'd come in for a number of hours a day, or if you needed to take them for a hospital visit. I mean, it's available now, which has been great. It's been great for other caregivers. Um, the other thing was. I think that's it. Yeah, I think, uh, and also, of course, in terms of not just the technology, but things that I needed for Dad, for example. I initially, when I started looking for non-slip socks, the one with the rubber-soled
Yeah.
socks. Yeah, I couldn't find them. I mean, I'm talking about years ago. I couldn't find them. And I scoured the net. Looked around. I finally found somebody in Australia who could supply the socks. And I got the socks for Dad from there. And then just sourcing for stuff was difficult. And I needed I needed a bed sheet set for Dad that in a way that I could attach his bolster to the side of his bed, so that if he rolled over, he wouldn't fall. So and I didn't want to buy one of those barriers, and the doctor did say it was a bit too invasive, too early on, in his dementia stage. But I just wanted something a little bit non-invasive. So I created that. I scoured the net trying to look for solutions, couldn't find anything actually. And then I came across an image of a man in a hospital bed, and he had two bolsters by his side. And I thought, oh, that might be nice if I could attach the bolster to the side of his bed that's not facing the wall. I just needed something. So it was just a makeshift thing that I did at home, and just sort of velcroed the sheets together so it could stick something to his side. So that's like, so if he turned over to his side, that it would form like sort of a barrier, but
Right.
it's a nice soft pillow. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
Things like that. And then looking for like healthy drinks for him. I don't give him any sugar or caffeine in his diet. Just looking for stuff that's healthy. And I've thankfully got a friend who manufactures a turmeric blend, and that's been great. It's healthy, and I give that to him as a hot drink when he wants a hot drink. He doesn't complain. So that's a hot drink, and he has that a day. So all these little things that I've had to really really look hard, really scour the net, call people, friends overseas, and have you heard of this? Do you think you could find it for me? So things like that. And that's one of my ventures, is aside from Mind Concern, is e-commerce platform, just placing all these things, like the talking watch, a watch that talks, that tells you it's 5 o'clock Tuesday, 6th of December, whatever it is, just as a reminder for him. Sensor lights, this is all this kind of stuff that I've needed for Dad. So that's
Right.
that e-commerce platform. I just want people to, like, you want to find something, just go to this platform, and you might be able to find something that you're looking for your loved one. Just things that I personally struggle to get. I just want to place it all there, including the socks and the turmeric blend and whatever it is. Just go there, and it's an option for you if that's what you want for your loved ones. So that's another platform that I'm working on at the moment, just sourcing for the products, and just things that there are tons of things for dementia, but not just for dementia patients, I would say, but really anyone who's getting on with age.
Right.
Just really, yeah, as you get older, you'll need stuff like this. So that's work in progress. So
That's amazing. And yeah, again, it's so amazing that you are taking your experience and the lessons you've learned and the resources that you've gathered, and that you're sharing them with other caregivers, which makes life easier, I guess, for everybody.
I hope so.
Um,
I hope so.
yeah, that's amazing. And I guess kind of on that point, you mentioned that your father uses YouTube and an iPad.
Yeah.
How do you see technology being used in the caregiving process going forward? What do you think the role is of technology?
Yeah, I was just Googling for smart speakers a couple of days ago, in preparation for when the time comes and, I might have to leave him in the care of a caregiver. Just looking at stuff that will, I'll be, I could record a reminder to say it's 12:30, it's time for lunch, or it's time for your Tai Chi exercise, or, just things. I really need to utilize technology, especially being away. Of course, I had Skype and FaceTime or whatever it is. I've had all of those resources so that I could, it's changed the platform, right? It's completely changed the platform of how families connect with each other. So that's been great. When I'm abroad, I call back. I call home twice a day, and just to check in, find out how, and just engage in some kind of conversation with dad and mom. So yeah, so I couldn't do without that technology, for one, right? And then of course, dad, we got him an iPad about 10 years ago, but maybe 8 years ago, and just teaching him how to, just what you need to do in your word search. He's got the book version as well, but he also uses the iPad, different times of the day, and he's got his Sudoku, and he just does that. So that's nice. So if we go for a hospital visit and we are in a long waiting line, we whip that out, and he just gets busy doing that while waiting to see the doctor. So that's been great for us. um, and yeah, I think I think most families, most caregivers would, if there was anything that technology would offer to lighten the load, it's really very welcome. It's really, it really would help. I was just like I was saying, I was looking for like smart speakers or something like that, and I could install and try to make things a bit easier in terms of reminding, because the sticky notes don't work so well. It doesn't work so well. I can label his medication, and that's great. Morning only, one pill in the evening, and that's very easy to read. But just, yeah, the sticky notes just don't work. Not for dad, at least. I know it does help other people, but just not for dad. I think it's a bit more advanced. Not that he doesn't read, but it just doesn't register. It just doesn't stick. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, anything that technology can offer, I think, yeah, I think we're always on the lookout. Always on the lookout.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I think that those were all the questions that I had, and I think that was all the questions that Svetlana had as well. So, Shamayne, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. You can find Shamayne at mindconcern.com. And do you have anything else that you want to shout out to our viewers before we wrap up?
Just, as a caregiver, it's my personal struggle with, a lot of emotions. It's an emotional roller coaster. I just want to say it's, don't feel guilty when you take time off to take care of yourself, because you're really no use to anyone dead or sick. So it is equally important to take care of yourself, so that you can give your best to your loved ones. It's very taxing, but you need to take care of yourself before you can give the best version of yourself to your loved one. And also not to ignore your emotions. You're feeling anger, feel it. You feel resentment, just acknowledge it. And you have a right to feel those feelings. Don't feel bad for feeling those things, because they're not socially acceptable. It's your journey. You really don't have to care about what other people say, because it's your journey, and people will seldom understand what you go through. That's really because they don't know what you go through. Unless you belong to a community of caregivers who all go through the same experience. So just stay true to yourself and plod along, I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And thanks so much again. And we'll catch everyone on the next episode.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.